life. Welcome to a special episode of DSP. We normally do this on the weekends, but I have a very special guest today. We had to work in the schedule, so we had to do some moving around with some things. But as always, I'm your guest, Josh, and as you can see, my guest today is Hunter Thomas. So Hunter, where are you from? For people who don't really know disc golf too much, and how did you get into disc golf?
Yeah, so I work with Foundation Disc Golf. It's a company I own. We're based out of Central Virginia, which also happens to be where I'm born and raised. And got into disc golf because the first time I ever played it was probably when I was in middle school. But I played it maybe once or twice. But it's because my brother, who was in high school at the time, had a PE teacher that it was part of their curriculum, if you will. And so my brother had gotten into disc golf, and then my senior year of high school, I was done with basketball, done with all sports. So I was just looking for something to do. And my brother was like, hey, why don't we go play disc golf again? So I went out and he beat me by 14 strokes or something. He just destroyed me at this local pitch and putt. And that was enough to make me hooked because I was like, my brother can't beat me at this, surely. And so then I just became addicted. So that was 2015 is when I say I got into disc golf. The first time I played was probably 2010-ish, somewhere in there. But 2015 is when I always count. That's where I actually started playing disc golf and caring about it. So
that's pretty cool. So when your brother did it in PA class, did they actually have actual baskets, or did they have the fishing net things where you had to throw the can jam frisbees in?
No, they had baskets, end of a discs, all of
Ooh.
that. Yeah, by the time I got to high school, that PE teacher had moved on. And so I never got to experience that. So, but yeah, I remember because the middle school I was at the same place as my brother's high school. And so I remember they had the baskets just locked up to the soccer fence, and they would just pull them out and make a little course for PE class around the soccer field. So yeah, it was legit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think more high schools should definitely do that. I know the high school that I live right by, they do disc golf once in a while because I'll go throw at the soccer field, and when I go out there, they'll have baskets all set up for a temp course, which is pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah. So after high school, did you find any sports in college, or was disc golf your main thing when you got into college?
Yeah, so the summer I started playing disc golf in probably March, April of my senior year of high school. And then that summer, my dad's friend was the disc golf coach at Liberty University, which is here in Lynchburg. And so my dad was like, hey, he can take you out and kind of teach you how to throw the proper way and show you some disc stuff like that. So I went out and played around with him. Me and my brother both did, and he was like, Hunter, if you're coming to Liberty in the fall, you should try out for the disc golf team, which I didn't know was a thing, because at this point I was still I was just starting to watch professional disc golf. I was I got in quick, but I didn't know college disc golf existed. And so that September I tried out for the Liberty disc golf team, which I didn't realize meant you show up and you're on the team, because there's 10 of us trying out. Nowadays the college disc golf's a whole different ball game, but back then it was if you show up and you're interested in disc golf and you're college aged, welcome to the team. That's it. And so that's when disc golf kind of became my life. I joined the team my freshman year of college, started playing some tournaments, and then, really dedicated myself to try to get as good as possible throughout college.
So, college disc golf, do you remember, what was practices like? Because most people think of, college sport, you have to do, your conditioning, your weightlifting, your practices. What was it like for, college disc golf?
Well, so my experience at Liberty is probably drastically different than a lot of people's experience with college disc golf. Because like I said, we had a coach, which when I went to college, the teams we were playing against some teams couldn't even use their school's logo because they didn't have school support. We were in a recognized club sport at Liberty. It still is, which is awesome because that meant that we got access to their facilities. We got preferential treatment when it came to registering for classes, so you could make sure it worked with your practice schedule. And then we got to use the indoor football facilities for our actual practices. So they had an indoor football field. And so as it got cold and, we ran out of daylight, this time of year, we got to actually practice in there. So we would practice 2 days a week and then have tag matches throughout the week as well. And so typically one practice of the week was supposed to be like on course, where we'd go out and work on something specific, whether it be like attacking a certain style of shot that you're bad at, doing specific field work, working on scramble shots. A lot of college disc golf is doubles, so we did a lot of basically working with just doubles partners and doubles strategy, and just getting used to playing doubles. And then the other day was field work. So it was either in the indoor football area or just out in the field. And that was landing zone practice, upshot practice, putting, all that fun stuff. And that one we ended with conditioning. So we would typically go and run stairs, go for a run, whatever it might be. Which back then we always like, coach, we're playing disc golf, dude. We just, we walk through a field. What are we running for? So I still stand by that take. I don't think you necessarily need the conditioning side, but hey, he made us do it. And then the tag matches were just to it was kind of set the rank for the team, right? Because if you're a team that was as big as Liberty, you had what is now considered D1, D2, D3. Back then it was called champ flight, first flight, second flight. And so your top four guys would be D1, your next four would be D2, your next four would be D3, and then you can also have multiple like D3 teams if you want, so on and so forth. And that kind of determined what tournament you're traveling to and what team you're going to play on at those tournaments. And so we used our tag matches as like figuring out who was the top four players, so who was going to be on that flight. So that was kind of the whole picture of college disc golf for me.
So do you remember which rank you were always in, or were you always towards the top, or like
No. When I came in, so it's funny. I played 3 years of quote unquote D1. Like I said, when I was there, it was called champ flight. But I really only earned my spot 2 of those years because the second year, so year 1, I was on either first or second flight. I don't really remember my freshman year of college nationals, but I was not on the main flight. I was either on first or second. I think I was on first flight, which would have been D2. And then my sophomore year, I was roughly the 6th best player on the team. So I was like very locked in my spot as a D2 player, but I was nowhere close to catching the 4th best guy on the team on D1. But then what ended up happening is over winter break, one of the guys on D1 dropped out of college. So, okay, all of a sudden now I'm the 5th best guy on the team. And then like shortly before nationals, another guy on D1 accepted a job at a different university because he was working at Liberty. And if you worked at Liberty, you got free school. So he accepted a job at a different university, which then meant if he wanted to keep going to school there, he was going to have to pay. And he's like, I was just kind of doing this so I could play disc golf, so I'm out. So he left. So then all of a sudden, I stumbled into being the 4th man on the D1 team my sophomore year. And then junior and senior year, I was on the D1 team. Yeah.
Nice. Now, that's where you met Trevor, right?
Yes, Trevor and Connor.
Okay.
Both, yeah.
So were those guys like in the same level as you, or were those guys kind of above you and you had to push yourself to get up to their level?
So Trevor came in, he's 2 years behind me. I think he came in my junior year, was his freshman year. And that year he was on first flight. I think he was on first flight, and his roommate was the one that ended up coming up to D1. His roommate Pete, who's been in a few videos when we go to like Texas and stuff. And then my senior year, Trevor was on my flight. He moved up to D1 champ flight for my senior year. And then Connor was always on either first or second flight. Actually, he might have only been on second flight. But what Trevor and I, because we were on the same like collegiate team of 4, we were pretty close my senior year of college. And I think that was around the time, because I graduated in 2019. And so then like a little bit close to a year later is when we actually hired Trevor. And Connor, I was like close to, like you would be close with anyone on the team, but we weren't like super tight. Like we did these things called game nights, and the people who came to game nights where you like played board games and stuff, they were the people who I was super tight with on the team. So I had the people who I was like doubles partnered with. We were playing tournaments together. Trevor was part of that circle. And then there was the people who came to the game nights. And I was very close with a few of those guys. And Connor, I just kind of talked to at practice. Like we didn't have too much in common besides we both loved throwing rocks. And so that was, we bonded over that, but it was just kind of like we were buddies, but we weren't super tight. And then he reached out the fall of 2020. which was, I think, his junior year of college or senior year of college, and just was looking for like a part-time video editing gig. And so that's when we brought Connor on first as part-time, then eventually full-time. And then that's when we became super close, obviously, is once he started working here. So,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah, no, it was awesome.
So, you guys obviously are still around like the college scene because I remember you guys doing like a grip lock episode last year at I think the national championships, I believe.
Yeah, that's a few years ago, but yes, yeah.
Okay, a few years ago. Sorry.
Very good.
So how much has like the college scene changed since you were involved with playing it?
A lot, a lot. Yeah, because my first 3 years, we were at this place called what was it, the Hippodrome down in Georgia. And essentially it was this disc golf complex that had 2 courses on this side of the highway and 3 courses on this side of the highway. It might actually have been 4 over here. And so everyone was there. And at that point it was ran by Pete May, was the kind of the visionary of college disc golf. And he's a legend. I think he's a disc golf Hall of Famer. He's won Masters age world titles. He's awesome. He's the guy at USDGC played ping pong against Ricky. It was Pete
Okay.
May. He's the founder of college disc golf though. So he was running it my first 3 years. And then my 4th year is when Annaba really became more heavily involved. And Pete May was still kind of the visionary behind it, but the Hippodrome had shut down. Even my junior year, the one side of the property was gone, so it was just the other side. So that whole property had shut down, and we moved to the PDGA headquarters. So we were playing W.R. Jackson, Steady Ed, all of those courses there. And that was when Innova became more involved, and John Baker really took over as the head of my senior year. And then immediately following that, they stayed there maybe one more year before they eventually moved up to where they are. Well, actually, they did 1 year, I believe, at North Cove, and then eventually moved it to Charlotte. And that was when Innova really started to take over. And Innova's done a phenomenal job of adding a lot more structure to it, because that's what was always missing, was you always had these rules, but there was no one really able to enforce them. So
yeah,
you had people who, like, were they actually going to the school they were playing for? Nobody knew. Were they actually taking enough classes to qualify by college disc golf rules? You didn't know. And so you'd have some guys who, like, my sophomore, junior year, where they're like on a really, really good team, but then there's all these rumors that they just live in the area up there. They don't actually go to school there. And it was like really hard to figure out, like, is that true? Is that just a rumor? College disc golf, though, were spread so thin, there was no way they could verify it, versus nowadays that structure's there. All the infrastructure, the verification, they're starting to build out like conferences, and you have like regional qualifiers and all this stuff. And so I've stayed involved, and I've helped run a lot of the qualifiers for Liberty in this area as it's grown. So I've seen the back end growth. I'm nowhere near as involved nowadays as I was a few years ago, but it's been awesome to see, because I think that that's one of the key things of growing disc golf in general, is the more structure we can get with college disc golf will then naturally, hopefully, lead to high school disc golf, which then can lead to middle school disc golf. And, obviously it's not going to be a like state recognized sport like basketball or football or whatever,
yeah,
but if there's more structure that can get passed down, and, because now you can get scholarships to go play disc golf at colleges and stuff like that. And if students see that, well, now all of a sudden it's something that's actually worth their time and energy at school, and it can be a part of school curriculum and learning there, and that can get people, I feel like that's a huge growth area for disc golf, and I think a lot of it starts with college disc golf and what they're doing there. So they're doing an awesome job, but yeah, it's a night and day difference from when I first started playing.
yeah. And eventually, maybe, hopefully, like these kids that are that are in college, hopefully they'll realize that, oh, there is potential to go pro and get on tour.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
hopefully the tour continues to grow. I mean, we've been seeing a major setback, but hopefully the tour keeps growing, and the money is there to support more players on the tour.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great touring disc golfers came from the college disc golf world. I mean, I know Grady Shue, I played against him. Obviously, he's kind of stepped away from tour. James Proctor was the 2015 national champion, and obviously he just retired. Raven Newsom we went head to head like pretty much all my years, or my last few years, because he was an NC State guy. there's several others that are just slipping my mind, but it's cool to see like guys who played college disc golf and then went on to have success on the pro tour as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So, seeing like the next, well, we'll say like the next generation coming up of disc golfers, like what are you most impressed by, like what they're showing as far as their skill, like their skill level already?
I mean, we were actually, it's really just the skill level across the board. Disc golfers are so much better than they were years ago from the pro level down. I mean, even just looking at what it takes to win or be a good college disc golfer is drastically different from when I was there. I mean, I was a solid college disc golfer, and nowadays I don't even know if I would be on a D1 team if I was in college, if I was the same skill set back then. And then to look at, I mean, you have like junior disc golfers, 12-year-olds that and 14-year-olds that are discussing at disc golf. And I think one of the people that's kind of championed that is just Gannon Burr with how good he has been at such a young age, where it's really easy to see like, oh, this 16-year-old was able to go out on tour, and 3 years later he's a world champion, the number one player in the world, all of that, and it just becomes a reality both for parents and for kids. Because I think parents being able to see that path to success is a big thing, that they're going to encourage their kids more and not squash their dreams nearly as much. It's a little bit easier when you see the success and these contracts and stuff, and you realize that, oh, my son is super interested in this, and it actually is a lifestyle that he can make a living in, versus my son's super interested in this, but like at some point, son, you got to wake up and get a real job. You know what I mean? Like you can't just do this forever. I think that stigma is going away somewhat, and so these kids are able to get really good at disc golf. And I think that fire that's lit under them is they've seen the junior world, the amateur world. Even Anthony Barella is another great example where he had a lot of success young and has turned it into pro success, and they're able to see that, and it's inspiring the next generation, which now they're just so good, so much younger than it feels like. Because I mean, a lot of times too, if you're looking at the Paul McBeth generation, Ricky, Barsby, that like a lot of these guys, they might have found disc golf when they were in high school. A lot of them though didn't. But then a lot of them also, it wasn't a realistic opportunity for them just to come out of high school and even think about being a touring pro. Or if they did, like Paul, I think chose that route, but it was like only because he was gonna basically live in his friend's car to go on tour. I don't know his full story, but I think it's somewhere like that if I remember it correctly. And it's like that's just not the case anymore, because it's also a different thing. Like I, as a father, thinking of my son going on the road and we're going out together in an RV or something is a lot different than I'm sending my son in someone they're gonna be sleeping in their Toyota Camry driving across the country. All like those are two much different stories that are being painted. So yeah, I think that it's very exciting, the future of disc golf, and especially the growth of junior disc golf.
Yeah. So how can like players like improve their game? Like let's say that you got someone who's like in the lower tiers of college but has a dream to get to like the pro level. So like how would you say that they can improve their skill?
Oh boy, I mean, I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that considering my skill level currently, but I think when I saw my biggest leaps and bounds, it was figuring out uh, where you were weak and working on that. So for me, a big one was putting. I became a very good putter in college. I think that was a key part of me being competitive on the college disc golf scene. If you're looking at going pro, a big thing is going to be distance. You just, with the courses they play, you got to have at least 450 comfortably in your back pocket, because like Trevor and I, we have decent distance. Like if I go out and I threw 10 shots, I'm probably going to average around 400 feet of distance if I'm trying to throw for distance. But you go take us out to these pro tour courses and we can't score. Like scoring is just not an option. And it's because we can't access the landing zones. And if we can access a landing zone, it's a full flex shot for us to get there. So that's a big thing with modern day disc golf is if you're trying to go pro, you got to have distance. You got to have 400 feet on a hyzer line, or at least on a flat to slight hyzer line in your back pocket. And then you also have to be very, very good at putting. The scramble game, the touch game, as much as that's really important on your local scene, that's not that crucial on the tour scene anymore, because it's a lot more hitting fairways, making putts, because a lot of times if you're off the fairway, it's just OB. There's no point to scramble. And the touchy mid game, when I first got into disc golf, every pro was cycling like 6 KC rocks. And, I've heard people talk about like how people went away from that. And I don't think it's just that the pro scene's left Innova. I think it's the tours left the mid-range game to where there's no need for Paul and Ricky to be cycling CT wasps. If there was, they would do it. But instead it's like, no, they can throw their putters 300 some feet. And then when you get to that next echelon of distance, a lot of times they're trying to throw fairways and distance drivers. The mid-range game is really not there. So I think trying to develop your game for the Pro Tour is a lot different than trying to develop your game to just dominate your local A, B, and C tiers. So really figuring out like what are you capable of and what your goals are, and then making a plan of like, okay, if I'm trying to go pro and I want to be on like, playing on tour, well then I better lock in and get my distance down would be a big one for sure.
Yeah. So, how did you personally come up with like your backhand form? Because I watch your throwing videos and it's very like
ugly.
It's very like well developed.
I didn't think that's where that was going. I developed mine from the Will Shoestrick tutorial back in the day. That was like when I first got into disc golf. Shoestrick was like Mr. Backhand, like he was the guy to replicate it after. So I started with the Will Shoestrick tutorials and learned his, and then that was also the Paul McBeth dominance era. And so quickly I tried to learn how to throw like Paul. And I was fortunate enough, Paul was dating his now wife, Hannah, who was a player on the Liberty team. So he would come to practices. And so I had access to him to be like, hey, what am I doing wrong? And so he ended up helping build my form in a lot of different ways. To where what's funny is he's almost gone away a lot. He used to have the like very pronounced pump out and then come back. And he's kind of gone away from the pump, and I've like over exaggerated the pump. So now I have this weird like jerk at the start of my run up that everyone, like a lot of people comment about like, why the heck do I do that? But it's because what Paul used to say was to pump it out. And then he told me like basically act like a pole was through that disc and I run by it and it gets me naturally into my spot. So that was where my thought was initially. But a big part of it was just finding someone who I felt like I was built like body style wise, because like I ain't got the wingspan like Gannon Burr. So what Gannon could do, even what Will Shoestrick could do, what Simon can do, they can just do things with a disc I can't do. So for me, Paul felt much more attainable. Like if I can figure out how Paul generates spin and power and replicate that, that's my goal. It started with Will Shoestrick for the basics. Then I just followed everything Paul said and did. And I feel like that's a good way for you, if you're like looking to get better at disc golf, listening to this, is find a pro that you feel like kind of looks like you body style wise, and then watch their form in slow-mo over and over and figure out the positions they're getting in and how they do that. And then you'll at least be able to generate the power they do and go from there.
Yeah. Just don't ever look at my form. If anyone's watching this, don't ever do my forms, because they're the most interesting forms you'll ever see.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
Every tournament I go to, everyone's like, dude, you have the most unique forms we've ever seen. I was like, I know.
Wow.
It is what it is. It works though.
Hey, if it works, it works. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So, what is the disc golf scene like in your area, especially for like, are you able to go out to like play in tournaments or league nights without like everyone be like, oh, it's Hunter from Foundation, everyone crowding you?
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't get to make it out to many tournaments or weeklies anymore, just because now that I have a family, and like after work and weekends that's my time with my family, and I take that very seriously. So like I just don't really get to play tournaments anymore. But pre having a kid, I was like or pre even getting married, I was like a 20 tournament a year guy. That was like, I just loved playing tournaments. I was on the board of directors at our local club. But even post foundation, getting married, having kids, I've ran tournaments, and it's very much like, our local scene, the regulars come into our shop all the time, shop the used section. Most of them we've known from before foundation. So it's like, there's not this weird, like freaking out that any of us are at the course. And rightfully so. I mean, I get uncomfortable when people do get like that, because I'm like, guys, look, you're going to watch me throw this backhand into that first tree on the right, and you're going to realize very quickly I'm just a human being like everyone else here.
Yeah.
So no, I could show up to any weekly tournament, anything like that, and there wouldn't be that like freak out by any means. Yeah, we have an awesome local community here, though. We got a really strong club. When I first started Foundation, we started a weekly, and the whole reason we started the weekly is because there was one weekly, and it was on Thursday nights, and we were like, we need more than one. We would love to have more, so we started one on Tuesday nights, and now, I mean, there's a club in the Lynchburg area, and then there's the Bedford Disc Golf Club, and you got a weekly and tag matches going on pretty much every night of the week. You have tournaments. Probably at least one tournament a month. During COVID, there was like 2 or 3 tournaments a month, but nowadays I would say it's settled into probably like one a month within the greater Lynchburg, Roanoke area. So there's as much disc golf as you want to play, basically, which is awesome. Awesome to see.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, in my area, like during like the summertime, because right now in Buffalo, it's like we're hitting a point where the next 6 months we're gonna be like 40 degrees or colder.
Yeah.
So during the summertime, we normally have like 2 or 3 tournaments like per weekend. And it's like every weekend. It's constantly going.
Yeah.
So you always got good choices of tournaments to play.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
It is pretty cool. So what is your favorite course to play? Like if you and Trevor are going out for like your monthly match, what's the one course you look forward to, and what's the one course where you're like, oh, I hate playing this thing?
Well, okay, if we're doing monthly matches, then, you know, I always look forward to wooded courses just because I have an advantage over Trevor, I feel like, on those. But if we're going just go to have fun, Falling Creek, I think, is probably my favorite course in the area. It's about 30 minutes away from us, so we don't film there nearly as often as any of us would like to, because I think it's all of our favorite courses, but it's just a open park style course. So there's trees to be had, but not a ton of them. And you can actually throw some drives and watch a disc fly. We have a lot of wooded golf around here, so Falling Creek's a breath of fresh air. The one that I dread, you know, honestly, at this point, none of them. I think Independence Park's Longs, which is our most tightly wooded course, and then from the long tees, it's just grueling. We literally never play it, just because it would take so long. It's basically like the New London redesign. If you took that and you shortened it a little bit, but then you tried to keep the difficulty by making the lines tighter, that's Independence Longs. And so it's a hike up and down hills all the time, and you're hitting trees on every shot. So that one's demoralizing, but it also has its time and place where, like, I can appreciate it for what it is. But that's definitely the one in the area that, like, if I see it on our filming schedule that we're going to Independence Longs, I will try to talk it off of our filming schedule. It'll be like, hey, have we thought about like just doing that video anywhere else though? So yeah, that's definitely the one I would say I like the least, but I still love it. So
yeah. So when you guys go and record, like, is it like a full day thing? Because like when we watch the videos online, obviously it's like less than an hour. So does it take up like the whole day, or just part of the day to film around?
Most of our filming is 2 to 2.5 hours. So what we'll typically do is Monday morning, first thing's always grip lock. That's when we film our podcast. Typically Monday afternoon, we film a video. Typically Tuesday afternoon, we film a video. Wednesday is normally no film day. That's when we have a lot of meetings and stuff like that. That's kind of our like office work day. And then Thursday, we typically film one in the morning and film one in the afternoon. And so Thursday is really the only full film day. And that's all dependent on weather. That gets flipped around, you know, based on weather. But Thursday is typically the only like full film day. But we get 2 videos out of it. And then Friday is the day where we do most of our like marketing, social media posts, creation, that type stuff. So that's kind of our typical schedule. But yeah, 2 to 2.5 hours is a normal filming session.
That's not too bad. I was thinking it'd be like all day long.
No. If we didn't have a cameraman, it greatly increases it, like when we have to pass the camera back and forth. But now with being able to bring Connor or Silas out and film with us, it basically takes as long as you're just playing around with your friends. So yeah.
Yeah, I love when Connor's on the camera because his comments and his laugh is like makes the video perfect.
Absolutely.
It's like oh, it's awesome.
So great.
If you were to, let's say, hypothetically be going to a tournament, let's say, and you're going to get, like, if you won this tournament, you get your tour card, what would be in your real bag? Because we know sometimes your bag changes based on some videos. So what would be in your actual real bag?
Man, it's been so long since I've had to actually build a bag for non-promotional purposes that, first thing in would be PA3s, would be my putting putter and my throwing putter. I love the PA3. I've got so many of them that I could cover every type of putt and throw I need with that. So the PA3, the zone would be in there. I would throw basically only MD3s. Then I would go Thunderbird, Passion, and probably the it for my roller. For the fairway slot, Firebird, and then Destroyers for my distance drivers. And I'd probably just go with like a S-Line DD3 for my flippy one, and that'd be it. Yeah.
No trilogy? Nothing?
I said MD3s, so I don't know if you want to go down that road, but mine is close enough, right? No, I've never been a big trilogy guy. I right now I have a Maverick in my bag, and every once in a while an Enforcer will sneak in there. Fuse is in and out sometimes, but when I'm picking and choosing, I'm a big Innova guy, and then Prodigy is like the PA3. Absolutely love the PA3, so that kind of takes up majority of my bag, and then Discraft sneaks in because there's nothing like a Zone or a Passion. I just haven't been able to replace that. So
yeah, just like Brody and Ezra always say, it's always a passion.
it is. There's, I've thrown a lot of 7 and 8 speeds, and the closest thing that I've ever thrown to a Passion is the original FDs, the Innova made ones. The original C-Line FDs had that same, just like, this disc just only goes straight. Like if I throw it on hyzer, it's going to pop up. If I throw it flat, it might turn a little bit, but it's never going to fade. It's never going to flip too much. The Passion's just, it's incredible. Yeah.
So what brand have you like ever like thrown outside of Innova where you were actually impressed by, oh wow, this is actually a pretty good disc?
So MVP, I think, is the most consistent feeling plastic and some of the best feeling plastic on the market. I just don't like a lot of their molds hand feel wise. A lot of their drivers are too shallow for me. I'm not a big fan of that like 6-speed slot, which is where like the Crave and a lot of their best fairways fall. I just don't really like it. And then the problem I have with their mids and putters are they go too far, which is a great problem to have for MVP, but for me it just doesn't work. That like the Envy, I overthrow shots all the time because like in my head it's a putter shot. I throw a putter hard and the Envy just keeps going. And I had the same problem with the Hex where I'm like, oh, I couldn't convince myself the Hex was actually going to go as far as it was going to go. So it's not really MVP's fault on that. They just made too good of a disc. But I think that they're plastic, and the biggest thing is like as a retailer, I get to feel pretty much most discs that come through our warehouse. So if there's inconsistencies in a brand, I'm gonna see it. And MVP, like there just never is. Like the neutron is always neutron. The dome level's pretty much always the exact same. And for some people that's boring. For some people that's fun to know exactly what they're getting. But I think that's always impressed me is their quality control and their consistency is pretty unmatched. So
yeah. Speaking of MVP, like I've noticed, like in my area, everyone's throwing the Trail. Is that like a top selling MVP disc for you guys down there? Because it seems like on the Trail these days.
The Trail's definitely one of the most popular discs, if not the most popular recently. And it's an amazing disc. I mean, it was in and out of my bag for a while. And I think that what's good about it is for people who throw far, it's a great hyzer flip to turn. For people who, throw like 320 to 350, it's a great, just like almost max distance disc with a 10-speed feel. So it is very agreeable for a wide range of players, and it goes sneaky far. For us, the only reason it's not a better seller is we can't keep it in stock. So we just keep ordering more and more, and we think we order enough, and then it sells out faster than we thought. So we put more on the order form the next time. And so it's funny because we'll go through periods where MVP just doesn't have them in stock. And so then we don't have them in stock because we didn't order enough. So it would be a better seller for us if we just actually ordered enough of them. But no, it's been a great disc, and I would imagine it'll slow up eventually because people it's the same thing with the Hex. The Hex came out and everyone freaked out about it. It was in everyone's bag, and now you've settled in. If you're a Hex thrower, you're a Hex thrower. If you're not, you've moved on. But if you are a Hex thrower, you probably have all the ones you want. So I think that's kind of the route the trail will end up on, where it's still going to be a staple in a lot of players' bags, but it won't be on the bestseller list nearly as much just because people are going to have them already. So it's an awesome disc, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So based on your comment earlier on how you're saying because you're a retailer, you feel the disc that come through and everything. So how's Prodigy feeling? Did they finally fix the issues that Gannon Burr was complaining about, or?
I think so. I mean, fully fixed, probably not, but I think that even while Gannon was with Prodigy, they had fixed a lot of it. I mean, their most recent stuff has been really good, especially like their Halloween releases. They did these 400 glow kind of like flex, a little bit of flex A2s, and premium A2s almost always have a dome to them. And like if you're trying to throw an A2, you don't want a dome. And these came out incredible. They're nice and flat. They have a good gumminess to them, and the plastic blend just feels great. And there's been a lot recently from Prodigy that's been coming in that the stamp looks great, the disc feels incredible. And so yeah, I mean, like we get way more of other brands than Prodigy just based on what sells. So it's not like I'm feeling thousands of Prodigy discs a week by any means.
Yeah.
But I've noticed a lot less of like picking a disc up and being like, oh my gosh, this thing's gonna cut my fingertips off, which is kind of what Gannon was complaining about. I've noticed a lot less flashing on them for sure. And I think that the Prodigy mid lineup is hard to beat in disc golf. The M4, the M3, even the good M2s, which I know Gannon tried to recreate with his Glacier. That's how good that disc is. Like it's hard to find in disc golf a mid-range lineup that's genuinely, especially if you like hyzer flips, that's as good as the Prodigy mid-range lineup. And I'm really excited for this new M5 they have coming out. I haven't got a chance to throw it yet, but it looks like kind of like some of the good M4s where they have that nice hyzer flip to turn to them. So I think Prodigy's figuring a lot out for sure.
That's pretty cool. So since you get to like obviously throw a lot of the discs, how familiar are you with the felons from DD?
I have a love-hate relationship with them. Yeah, I don't know. I won't go down my road until I know how you feel about them, but I'm very familiar with felons.
I love them, but the reason why I'm asking is because I've had this debate with multiple people like in my area. The Sake Bomb felon versus the normal felon. They are two completely different flights, and nobody else believes me. I'm telling them.
They're different
they
molds.
Are so different.
They're different molds. The Sake Bomb felon's retooled to be more overstable.
Yes, that's what I've been telling everyone. I was, dude, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I forehand them all the time. I know.
Yeah, so the Sake Bomb felon, I believe, people might correct me on this, I believe it got PDJ approved separately. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
Similar to the Sake Bomb Slammer, where he just took his signature, the disc he threw the most, and retooled him to be more overstable, which is why I never liked the felon. The felon and the Raptor are the same to me, where when they first came out, they were supposed to be kind of like that brand's Firebird, where you can trust it in headwinds. It's not going to flip up, whatever. And I loved the feel of the felon, put one in my bag. First tournament I played, hyzer flip to dead straight. And I'm like, that's not what a felon's supposed to do. And so and I have the same problem with the Raptor, where you can get Raptors that'll pop up a little bit. And so for me, I just always had a love-hate relationship with them because like, I think that because I expected them to be that super overstable 9-speed utility disc, which the Sake Bomb felon is closer to, then I kind of had this like love-hate with it because it would flip up on me and I couldn't trust it. And the Raptor did the same thing to me. That's actually the Crystal Raptors we made forever ago, which I have one on my shelf somewhere back there. That solved that problem. The Crystal Raptors actually flew like a Firebird, and now you have the Captain's Raptor that fixes that as well. So, but yeah, that's why I have a love-hate with it, was basically just I couldn't trust it out there.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like the normal felons, you either get them where they're too flippy, because I'm a flex forehand player. So I need that overstability. Sometimes they'll get stuck on the anhyzer and just keep going left.
Yep.
Or they don't have enough glide and they'll just die early.
Yeah.
But the Sake Bomb felons, you can pull those things out of the box, grab a used one, and they all fly identical.
Yeah.
It's like perfect.
Yeah. No, Sake Bomb felons, you're not crazy. They're definitely different disc.
Yeah. And then from what Bobby Brown was saying on the Answer Man podcast, I'm not sure if you've ever like dipped into that a little bit.
Of course.
But Yeah, he was saying that that since Ricky Wysocki left, Saki Bomb felons are no longer made, but they're planning on retooling it again and changing it to a different like name, so it won't be considered a felon, but it'll have a similar flight of what the Saki Bomb had.
Oh, nice. That makes sense.
So that'll be pretty cool. All right, to wrap wrapping this up, so I don't take up your day much longer. What do we can look forward to? What's coming up with Foundation?
Oh boy. Well, I have a disc sitting on my desk that I am not allowed to show you because Trevor would absolutely kill me. But for Black Friday, we've got some very exciting stuff coming, mainly with our mystery boxes. That's always our big push for Black Friday. And this year, just be on the lookout. Our social this weekend, we should start posting some of the teasers and stuff like that. But we really took it to a whole nother level this year. We just I won't spoil anything, but we've pretty much, I don't think someone's going to buy one of our mystery boxes and be disappointed. I don't really know if that's going to be possible this year. We really pushed that. And then for Black Friday, we also are bringing back all of our personality discs. We have some new personality stuff, some personality jerseys. So Black Friday is the big focus for us right now. Obviously, also, if you're watching this live, in about an hour and 20 minutes from right now, we have episode 4 of Imposter dropping, which is the episode 4 by itself is probably, in my opinion, for what I think Imposter should be, the best episode of Imposter that's ever happened. It's Connor called it a movie, and I think that's the only way to describe it. It's insane. So episode 4 is this week. The finale's next week. So obviously Imposter's big, and then we're going straight into Black Friday, and then we have another pretty big, fun content project coming at the beginning of December. Nowhere near as big as Imposter, but we're very excited about it. That'll probably be announced in a week or two. So yeah, Imposter, Black Friday, Secret Project. Those are the 3 coming.
Heck yeah, that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions for me before we end this, or?
Well, are you only a trilogy guy? I see the trilogy behind you, and you were shocked I didn't throw it. Are you just all trilogy?
Yeah, because I'm part of Team Trilogy, so
You're our Team Trilogy. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, what trilogy dish should I put in my bag? I'll give you one mold. It's guaranteed in my bag. I'm going to go put it in right now.
Saki Bomb Felon.
Saki Bomb Felon. Okay. Saki Bomb Felon's going in the bag. I might have to take out a loan to finance purchase of one, but once I do that, I'll get it. I'll get it in my bag.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you for taking your time and hopping on today.
Absolutely.
All right. I'll see you.